As a grieving family prepared to honor their cherished grandmother, the heartless HOA demanded her coffin be tossed into a dumpster, branding it an eyesore. Linda Harper, the tyrannical HOA president, showed no remorse. Rules trumped compassion in her world. But she didn't know the grandson she humiliated was an FBI agent, and he wasn't just filing a complaint. He was dismantling her corrupt empire. Wait until you see how justice wasn't just served, it became a national scandal. James Carter's phone buzzed relentlessly on his kitchen counter, jarring him from a fog of grief. 3 days had passed since his grandmother, Margaret, took her final breath. Her laughter still echoed in his mind, her gentle hand patting his cheek, calling him her dear boy. He'd spent those 72 hours ensuring her farewell was perfect, arranging the wake, selecting the modest oak coffin she'd chosen years ago, whispering promises to honor her memory. So when the call came, he answered without a second thought, rubbing his temples. Hello? Mr. Carter, this is Daniel Harris from Oakwood Cemetery. The voice wavered, heavy with dread. I don't know how to say this, but the HOA declared your grandmother's coffin a violation of community standards. They had it removed. James's grip tightened, his coffee cup forgotten. Removed? His voice was flat, disbelieving. Harris hesitated, then dropped the bombshell. They threw it in the community dumpster. The words slammed into James like a sledgehammer. His vision blurred, pulse hammering in his skull. Say that again, he whispered, voice trembling with barely contained fury. They disposed of it in the dumpster, Harris repeated, quieter, as if softening the blow could erase its horror. HOA rules stated. James didn't hear the rest. Rage consumed him, a molten fire coursing through his veins. Margaret had lived in that neighborhood for 50 years, nurturing its growth, mentoring kids, funding the library, even dipping into her savings for HOA projects. And now, these soulless bureaucrats had discarded her coffin, her final resting place, like trash. This wasn't a mistake. It was a declaration of war. They had no idea who they'd just crossed. James wasn't just angry. He wanted blood. He stormed into the HOA office like a force of nature, the door crashing against the wall, rattling every framed certificate. The receptionist, a nervous woman with oversized glasses, froze mid-sip, coffee sloshing onto her desk. Before she could stammer a greeting, James's glare pinned her in place, his voice a low growl. I want the person who authorized throwing my grandmother's coffin in the trash. Now. A chilling silence blanketed the room. The receptionist's eyes darted to a glass-walled office where a woman stood, observing with cold amusement. Linda Harper, HOA president, her blonde hair immaculate, her smile venomous. She radiated authority, the kind that thrived on control. Stepping forward, she clasped her hands like a politician about to deliver a rehearsed speech. I understand you're upset, she said, her tone dripping with condescension. But community guidelines are clear. Non-standard burial displays aren't permitted. James's laugh was sharp, humorless. Non-standard? You mean a coffin? His voice rose, slicing through her composure. It was her wake, not a damn yard sale. Linda's expression didn't flicker. She reached for a stack of papers, thumbing through them with robotic precision. Warnings were sent, she said coolly. The decision's final. If you'd like to complain, file a formal request. She slid a sterile form across the desk, her eyes daring him to challenge her. The room seemed to shrink, the air thick with tension. James's rage didn't erupt, it crystallized, cold and lethal. Without a word, he pulled out his badge. The words Federal Bureau of Investigation gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Linda's smirk vanished, her body stiffening like a cornered animal. James leaned in, his voice a deadly whisper. You're done. The shift was electric. Linda's confidence crumbled, her eyes flickering to the badge, searching for an escape. What is this? She stammered, her voice cracking. This, James said, holding the badge higher, is me opening a federal investigation into your little fiefdom. Because last I checked, illegal disposal of human remains is a felony. He let the words hang, watching panic tighten her throat. Then, with deliberate calm, he pulled out his phone and played a recording. A man's voice, clear and damning, filled the room. I work for HOA maintenance. Linda told us to dump the coffin before the funeral. Said she didn't want the neighborhood looking like a graveyard. I didn't want to, but she threatened my job. Linda froze, her facade shattered. James pressed on, scrolling through his phone. I also have bank statements showing HOA funds funneled into your accounts. Care to guess whose name is on them? Her knees buckled, hands clutching the desk for support. I was just enforcing rules, she sputtered, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her. James stepped closer, his smile cold and predatory. You're done. By morning, Linda Harper's name was infamous. Headlines screamed, HOA president probed by FBI for dumping grandmother's coffin. Social media erupted, images of Margaret's coffin amid garbage bags and wilted flowers fueling outrage. News vans swarmed the neighborhood, reporters grilling stunned residents. I knew she was strict, but this? One neighbor muttered. Another, an elderly man, shook his head. Margaret deserved better. Linda's empire collapsed. Handcuffed and disheveled, she was led from her home, cameras flashing as she shouted about unfairness. No one listened. Charges piled up: illegal disposal of remains, financial fraud, systemic abuse of power. Forensic accountants uncovered years of embezzlement, thousands siphoned for personal gain. The HOA board scrambled to disown her, but lawsuits from enraged residents buried them. James didn't care about the media frenzy. His fight was for Margaret. He oversaw the coffin's recovery, ensuring every trace of disrespect was erased. The funeral was quiet, intimate, free of cameras, just family honoring a woman who'd given everything. Standing by her grave, James felt the anger subside, replaced by resolve. Margaret had taught him to fight for justice, no matter the odds. He'd done that. And he always would. This story raises tough questions. Was Linda's obsession with rules a twisted bid for control, or did she believe she was protecting the community? Should James have pursued personal vengeance, or was his response justified? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about wielding power in tight-knit communities? When does it cross the line? Let's get the conversation going, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that spark debate.